Under Article 12, Section 17 of the 1987 Constitution, the state has the power to temporarily take over the operations of privately owned public utilities or businesses affected with public interest in times of national emergency when the public interest requires. Article 7, Section 23 of the same Constitution further provides that in times of national emergency, Congress may grant the President temporary emergency powers. To be a valid delegation, the legislative enactment must authorize the President for a limited period and subject to prescribed restrictions. While Section 14E of RA 8479 authorizes not the President but the DOE to temporarily take over oil firms in times of emergency, the Supreme Court, in the case of Executive Secretary Leandro Mendoza et al. Versus Pilipinas Silco Petroleum Corporation, GR number 2120916, February 21, 2023, ruled that such is a proper delegation consistent with the doctrine of qualified political agency. The court clarified, however, that the department secretaries are not given complete discretion over how to exercise the delegated authority. The doctrine dictates that the President retains control, having the authority to confirm, modify, or reverse the action taken by his department secretaries. Thus, while the language of Section 14, paragraph E appears to allow an interpretation that permits the DOE Secretary to act independently or without instructions from the President, the doctrine of qualified political agency entails a cabinet secretary may only exercise such authority acting as President's alter ego. Mr. Chair, the present state of national energy emergency recently decreed by the President due to the global petroleum supply disruption arising from the ongoing Iran-US-Israel conflict makes Executive Order number 839, 2009, especially relevant as a practical and constitutional precedent for emergency intervention in the downstream oil industry. At its core, Mr. Chair, Executive Order number 839 demonstrates that the Philippine government may lawfully intervene in the regulated oil market when an emergency threatens public welfare, fuel accessibility, and economic stability. Although the downstream oil industry is ordinarily governed by the market and the Republic Act number 8479, the law itself recognizes that the regulation is not absolute. Section 14E expressly authorizes the Department of Energy in times of national emergency and when public interest so requires to temporarily take over or direct the operations of any person or entity engaged in the industry. This power becomes highly significant today because the present crisis is not merely a matter of ordinary price fluctuation, but a systemic supply risk involving, one, possible disruption of global crude flows and value chains, higher freight and insurance costs, import vulnerability of the Philippines, inflationary pressures on transport, food, power, and basic goods, and opportunities for hoarding, profiteering, supply withholding, and artificial shortages. Executive Order number 839 shows that emergency price intervention is legally possible even under a deregulated regime. EO 839 was issued during the Luzon calamity caused by typhoons Ondoy, Pepeng, and Ramil, when the executive directed oil companies to maintain the retail prices prevailing on October 15, 2009, in order to prevent predatory pricing, unreasonable pricing, and cartel-like conduct during a period of emergency. It was not treated as an abandonment of the regulation, Mr. Chair, but a temporary emergency correction mechanism authorized by law. That same logic is applicable today. If the current global war materially constrains petroleum supply or causes severe domestic dislocation, the government may justify temporary and targeted market controls, not to permanently regulate prices, but to preserve public order, ensure continuity of essential services, and protect consumers from abusive market behavior. In this sense, Mr. Chair, EO number 839 is best understood as a legal template for emergency stabilization measures in the oil sector. The ruling of the Supreme Court in the case of Executive Secretary Mendoza et al. Versus Pilipinas Shell Corporation is highly relevant to the current crisis. The ruling confirms that the executive does not need to wait helplessly for market self-correction if national welfare is at stake. Rather, the President, acting through the DOE, may lawfully direct emergency measures in the downstream oil sector, provided such actions are, number one, temporary, two, necessitated by public interest, three, proportionate to the emergency, and four, subject to presidential control. Thus, if today's emergency worsens, the government may invoke the same legal framework to justify active intervention in the oil industry. Unlike EO number 839, which was primarily a price freeze measure during several disasters affecting a specific geographical area, the current crisis is national in scope and rooted in an international geopolitical shock affecting supply chains and import availability. That means the state's emergency power under Section 14E may be used not only for price stabilization but also for supply assurance and distribution control. EO number 839 was later lifted by EO 845 once the immediate emergency conditions had eased and oil companies agreed to a targeted calamity assistance program. This is important, Mr. Chair, because it shows that emergency intervention need not be indefinite or absolute. It may be phased, adaptive, and responsive to actual conditions on the ground. That principle is highly applicable today. If the current energy emergency persists, the government is not limited to an all-or-nothing response. It may adopt time-bound controls, geographically targeted interventions, sector-specific fuel prioritization, or substituted relief mechanism where direct price controls become unsustainable. Mr. Chair, the oil deregulation law does not leave the government powerless in a crisis. On the contrary, it preserves a built-in emergency override, and EO number 839 shows how that override may be lawfully used when market forces alone are no longer sufficient to protect the public. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Kaya po natin inimbitahan yung mga stakeholders na ho natin precisely ho para marinig din ho natin sa kanila yung mga possible solutions at kung ano ba ang situation ng ating nararanasan ngayon, especially ng ating mga oil companies. Talagang sa ganitong krisis, hindi lang ho tayo pwedeng nakasalalay sa ating pamahalaan dahil komplikado po itong krisis. Marami ho tayong tinitignan na iba't ibang aspeto. Kaya gusto rin ho natin marinig sa ating mga stakeholders, lalo na sa ating mga oil companies, kung ano yung mga possible solutions na pwede natin gawin at para maiwasan ho natin yung paglala nitong krisis na ito. Ako alam ko na alam rin ng ating mga stakeholders yung mga solutions. No? Whether kung maglalagay ho tayo ng budget, gagawa ho tayo ng batas kaagad, importante na marinig ho rin natin yung kanilang mga suhestyon. So nagpapasalamat po ako, Senator Marcoleta, sa inyong intervention. At napakahalaga na sa ganitong punto magtulong-tulong po ang pribadong sektor at ang pampublikong sektor para po malampasan natin itong nararanasan nating sitwasyon. So with that, with the permission of Senator Marcoleta, we can continue the briefing and presentations and also suggestions from the oil sector. We'll call first the associations. So we'll call Ms. Tanya Samiliano of the Independent Philippine Petroleum Companies Association.
Morning, sir. For IPCA, our members have already confirmed with the DOE that so far our incoming importations are still arriving, but we haven't received any confirmation for future deliveries beyond April. As for the pricing, it varies, sir, according to each member company on how they implemented the price movement. It can be noted from the past few weeks, it differs between tranches of 2s, 3s, and recently one of our members also offered a discount on their prices. For the replenishments, I still stand similar to what the earlier item was mentioned. Future importations, tenders haven't been confirmed up to now. It's on a wait and see. There is, although there are some offers available in the market, but the price is very, very high. And also, we supported the request. Our request was supported by the DOE when we asked for leniency or relaxation on the standards of fuels that we're bringing in to make our sourcing wider and not limited to Euro 4 fuels. One of the items also we requested, sir, was the tax and cash flow measures. If it's possible for us to delay the payment of our excise tax during that time to relieve the pressure on the finance portion. Because like the motorists, oil companies also suffer from the financial constraint of the prices almost double their original amount. So our financial capacity is also limited. We spoke with the Secretary of Energy and also the Secretary of Finance for this, but we have yet to get a feedback on if it's going to be approved or accommodated.
Thank you. Thank you to the Independent Philippine Petroleum Companies. We'll go to the member companies. And first, we want to thank the oil companies for sending their top executives for today's hearing. It's important to hear it straight from the horse's mouth rather than through other channels. So we will call on Petron Corporation, represented by their General Manager, Mr. Nepomuceno, Lubin Nepomuceno.
Morning to everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. On the issue confronting Petron now with supply and prices, securing crude and finished products continue to become more difficult. Exporting countries, including China, Thailand, and Singapore, have since issued temporary bans to sell finished products to other countries. Replenishment of crude, which Petron primarily sources from the Middle East, has been halted as a result of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Recently, Petron managed albeit very challenging, to procure additional crude and finished products. Suppliers are bidding out available volume, resulting in higher replacement cost. In addition, other costs, including freight, import premiums, and insurance, have substantially increased. In my mind, the country should prioritize ensuring sufficient supply of fuels. While it is important to look at prices, it is more critical that we maintain sufficient inventory to run our own industries and supply motorist requirement. As well, we have legacy accounts like the military and their allies. And so it is very critical that national security is in place. Supply disruption is more expensive and will be catastrophic consequence for the economy. To this end, the government may need to intervene through facilitation of supply arrangements with other countries. Similar to India's approach, our government may consider securing waiver from the United States to allow importation of crude from Russia. Currently, with the embargo on Russia, we are constrained to procure ESPO crude, which is viable feed for our refinery in Bataan. The Philippines may also explore G2G arrangements with our other fuel exporting countries in the region to give preferential treatment to our oil industry players. I am also the CEO of Malaysia, Petron Malaysia, and the country is a net importer. So some countries also in the region may not be able to help us. There are some recommendations that we would like to submit to the chair. Government to cap the collection of excise tax and VAT at $50 per barrel Dubai crude. Should prices breach the threshold, excise tax and VAT will remain at the level of $50. This is considering that earlier I have mentioned that premiums have increased, particularly for diesel. You will see now in the market, in the trading hubs, specifically in the region, it is Singapore, the premiums are already at $40. So you have the MAPS pricing of the crude plus $40, plus the trader's premium, the increase in freight, so the landed cost will actually be astronomical. Now, consider also the other inputs that are locally purchased, like the biofuels, the increase possibly of secondary transport, which is the vessels, the port charges, the tertiary means of delivering, which are the tank trucks, which will deliver to the customers, the service station, and the different customers. On the proposed re-regulation of the downstream oil industry, this will require government to institutionalize a subsidy mechanism. Using prevailing price of around $150 per barrel Dubai crude, which is the current level, the government will need to allocate 17 billion per year in subsidy to stabilize price at $50 per barrel. This is assuming around 469 million barrels daily demand per DOE report. On strategic petroleum reserve, we'd like to recommend that government put up strategic stockpile, which is a best practice in other countries, to provide buffer stock and stabilize prices during period of supply disruption. In-country crude reserves. For 90 days of crude oil stockpile of about 15 million barrels, we process about 5 million barrels a month and produce about 25 million liters daily. Will require about 54 billion should the government target stockpiling at $60 per barrel. Potential site at the PNOC Petrochem Development Park in Mariveles, Bataan, which is our neighbor about 5 kilometers away. So we can actually install a pipeline. And the refinery can process the crude, particular crude that can be used by the kind of configuration that we have at the refinery, which is typically Middle East crudes. 6 months crude reserve will require investment of around 108 billion should the government target a $60 per barrel crude price to start the crude stockpile. Investment for the strategic crude facility is estimated to be 50 billion, for which the government could provide a soft loan for the interested investor. Petroleum product reserves, specifically gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and LPG. The combined 27 million barrels requires a storage based on DOE's average daily demand for the period April to September 2025, pre-war. 30 days of product imports may be stored somewhere in Cavite, and another 30 days can be stored somewhere in Navotas or Bulacan. The required average daily for mogas is 23 million, diesel 32 million, jet 6 million, LPG 10 million. The required storage for 60 days will be equivalent to 27 million. And that, if we project a 1 million tank for the 27 million, that will mean 27 tanks. And that is the kind of storage that is required to have a tank farm. What is our stand on price control? If the prices are capped, oil companies will not be able to absorb losses and resort to business stoppage unless the government is willing to subsidize. This will result in fuel shortages, as the oil companies will not be able to procure supply replacements at much higher cost. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Senator Marcoleta.
Mr. Chair, before we are overwhelmed by statistics coming from the oil companies, I think we should put some perspectives on today's hearing. You will note, Mr. Chair, that during the last hearing, this representation provided certain data coming from the tanks of Rotterdam Refinery and the tanks of Petronas Malaysia, also docked in Singapore. May I be allowed to present this data, Mr. Chair, which I updated last night. So these are basic price data as of March 25, 2026.
Yes, go ahead, Senator Marcoleta.
Can you please, can you see it, Mr. Chair? This slide, Mr. Chair, is or provides the data supplied to me by Netherlands Refinery, Rotterdam Tanks in Singapore. As of March 25, 2026, on the basis of 100,000 shipment, 100,000 metric tons, which means 118 million liters. And assuming that Philippine peso is 60 pesos per $1, 1 metric ton equals 1,180 liters. the FOB price, as you will see in the slide, Mr. Chair, is 570 US metric ton per metric ton. Okay? Metric ton. Yung shipping cost nito, Mr. Chair, ito, 1,500. Okay. So, yung MOPS niya is $1.71 per liter. Kapag kinompute natin ito, Mr. Chair, FOB, $570. So, translate na natin $15 per liter. Isama natin ng $15 per liter. And MAPS of 1.71. Multiply that by 60, Mr. Chair, and divided by 1,180. Conversion in liters. Makikita po nyo dyan, the FOB landed cost is 29 pesos 83 centavos. Kapag inad po natin yung mga local add-ons, importation, distribution, and storage deposit to acquire TSA, broker fees, duties, port chain charges, SGS survey, wharfage, incidental charges, 12% VAT, excise tax, BIR fuel marking, 2% CME per liter, and VAT differential totaling only 15 pesos and 51 cents. Ang total landed cost, Mr. Chair, is 45 pesos and 35 centavos. So yung SRP po, or passion price, for example, at 55 pesos per liter, meron pa pong tubo na 9.6 pesos. In the last hearing, you will recall, Mr. Chair, I was asking the DOE Secretary kung paano po nangyari 2 weeks ago before the war, the price of diesel is 55 pesos per liter. Bigla pong sumirit ng 125 liters, average of 125 liters after 2 weeks. The difference is 70 pesos, Mr. Chair, or an increase of 127. Ito po verifiable sa paano po. Can you show the second slide? Yan ba yan? Mr. Chair, ito po yung second slide. Yung nauna kanina, FOB price, kaya 570 per metric ton, US dollars. Ito po CIF, $640 per metric ton. So palagay mo, lagyan din natin ng shipping cost of $15 per metric ton. At saka yung MAPS, 1.71. The same computation, FOB landed price, 33 pesos and 39 centavos. So isama po natin yung binanggit ko pong mga add-on, local add-ons, 51.51, 48 pesos and 91 cents. So with the SRP or passion price of 55 per liter, may 6 pesos pa pong tubo eh. So paano po nangyari? Kaya hindi ko po maintindihan. Nagpatulong na po kami sa DOE nung isang hearing. Hindi naman po nila maipaliwanag. And they were asking for my data. Ayan na po yung mga data. Will you show the last? Mr. Chair, ito po yung last slide. CIA po ito. Dito po Petronas, Malaysia Refinery. The tanks are all in Singapore. O ito po makikita nyo, $680 per metric ton, CIF. Maski lagyan pa natin ang shipping cost na $15 at saka yung 1.71 na MAPS. Again, using the same computation translated into liters, 35 pesos and 42 centavos. Plus the local add-ons, 50 pesos 94. Passion price, 55. Meron pa pong tubong 4 pesos per liter. How do we explain this? Sinasabi po ninyo you were importing it from Dubai and you cannot penetrate it because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Bakit po yun ang reference natin? I'm talking about the prices now being quoted by the tanks in Singapore. Petronas and Rotterdam tanks in Singapore. This is tanks to vessel transaction. Ay, alam ko po, alam niyo ito. So, yung vessel po, lalapit lang sa tanks. Kaya kung gusto niyo, CIF, yung tanks na lang lalapit sa inyo. But these are the prices. You can check the prices in Singapore. Nasa akin po eh. I check it with a friend in Singapore. It's very easy naman po eh. We have an embassy in Singapore, I suppose, na maaaring makapagtanong din siya to check this data. Bakit po, the President said 2 weeks ago, we have about 50 to 60 na inventory. Okay. After 2 weeks, bakit po sumirit ng ganun? Inventory pa nyo, meron pa po tayo. During the last hearing, we have 45 days for diesel and 54 days for gasoline as admitted by DOE. So what are we talking about? Prices of Dubai or Argus benchmark analysis or even the MOPS? Why are we using indicators when there are basic prices even quoted by the tanks in Singapore? Bakit po yung reference natin is the MOPS or the Argus benchmark? Why so? These are hard facts, Mr. Chair. I'm showing it to you now. Saan po ninyo kinukuha yung langis ba? Dubai?
May I answer, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I am not familiar with the data that is being presented. But very clearly also, Dubai price now is 140. You can ask DOE. How can a product be cheaper than $140 per barrel?
Sir, because it is being referenced to the Argus benchmark, the Argus data. You're taking it from the maps. You talk about Dubai maps or Singapore Platts. Indicators po ito eh. This is the trading floor, like WSM. Tinetrade po natin yon. Pero kung yung mga tangki na po sa Petronas ang nagsasabi and they're providing this data to us, paano po natin i-reconcile ito? I'm not questioning your indicators po, but I am only showing some figures, hard facts, that are supplied to me.
Your Honor, again, this is the first time that we've seen the numbers. We would love to check it as well, but
Yes, sir.
Yun Argus po kasi is another information provider. Para lang din maps yan eh. Pero dito kasi, plots ang ginagamit.
Yes, sir. Ano po yun eh? Worldwide po yun eh. Let's take the example of WSM sa electricity po. It's a trading floor. Ang WSM po, kapag ka walang bilateral contracts po yung supplier ng kuryente, pupunta sa WSM. Kung bilateral, may mga suppliers po ang Meralco, okay lang po yun. Pupunta lahat sila sa WSM. So yung WSM, the trading floor, ito yung spot market, ididikta niya. Pero hindi lahat ng pagkakataon sa WSM po yun. Kumisan nga eh, sa WSM magtataka kayo eh, 32 pesos pa nga eh, per kilowatt hour, which is impossible. Sa Meralco, siguro 10, 11 pesos per kilowatt hour. Sa electric cooperative, siguro, medyo mataas ng konti, 14 to maybe 18 pesos per kilowatt hour. Yan sinasabi po ninyo is the trading floor. That's the spot market. But I'm telling you, these are the figures. You can check it. Kaya po binigay ko na po rin para makita po ninyong lahat. I can even give you a name of a company in Singapore. Para siya po yung makipag-deal. It will take only the government, siguro mag-issue po kayong letter of intent. Baka mamaya po, sumagot na po yun . And for our country to issue the ICPO. Yusek, meron kang gusto sabihin?
Oh. We'd like to thank, for the record, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. On behalf of the DOE, we asked for the data precisely to validate and also look into the conversion and the computation. So I'd like to thank the Honorable Marcoleta for showing it right now.
For the record, Mr. Chair, may I provide the copies of the 3 slides I have shown?
Yeah, the committee will request for those computation and furnish the Department of Energy those computations, as well as the associations of the different oil companies. With
For
your
the record,
permission.
Mr. Chair, I am leaving it with the committee.
Yes.
And for the DOE to just access this particular
Yes,
data.
we will
Thank you very
furnish
much,
the
Mr. Chair.
we will furnish the department, Senator Marcoleta. We'll discuss pricing later on. No? We're also very interested with pricing kasi yan ang dumediretso sa sikmura ng bawat isa. Pag sinabi natin pricing, talagang literally diretso sa sikmura ng bawat isa, especially ng ating mga PUV drivers. No? So, pag-uusapan ho natin yung mamaya at request ko nga si Senator Marcoleta to provide us with this computation because seems to me na napakalayo naman po yung quotation na nakuha ni Senator Marcoleta, which is just yesterday, versus yung actual pricing na nakikita natin ngayon. But we'll discuss that later on after we finish the comments and the statements. So next will be Chevron, represented by Mr. Tang Manuswong, the President and Country Chairman of Chevron Philippines. Go
Thank you,
ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Before addressing the 4 inquiries from Mr. Chair, let me quickly address the point about the pricing. First and foremost, that's our first time seeing this information, so I appreciate if we can get that information for our validation purpose and also to make sure that the unit and the conversion is aligned with the practice here in the Philippines. What I immediately see from the list, what is missing is one of the key cost factor, which is the product premium that we have to pay to the trader. And that's already a big chunk of the cost component coming to the Philippines. Just to give an idea, now we are talking about dollar per barrel unit. Unlike the dollar per liter unit, just flash up earlier. MOPS yesterday for diesel was more than $220 per barrel, while the product premium that we have to pay to the trader in order to get the supply is supposed to be, in normal circumstances, is between $0 to $1 per barrel premium. But as of yesterday, it's more than $40 per barrel. That's the premium that we have to pay to the trader in order to get the supply. Again, after getting the information, that spreadsheet, we are willing to clarify and confirm the information whether the current information that we are using is aligned with that information or not. Now, coming back to the 4 inquiries from Mr. Chairman, the first one is the inventory. For Chevron, at this point of time, similar to the information provided by DOE, we have sufficient inventory up until the last week of April. So that's our current inventory situation. But anyway, that's based on the normal level of the demand. Second is on the supply security. Similar to the information provided to DOE, Chevron already secured the shipments in April Having said that, there are also possible uncontrollable factors coming from the source countries. As Mr. Lubin mentioned earlier, some of the countries already banned the export of fuel product to outside of the country. So those are uncontrollable factors that may impact to the supply security of the company. At the moment, we are in the finalization stage of the May shipment, which is yet to confirmed. And talking about the global supply chain, we get the product from refineries in the region, and most of the refineries in Asia got the crude oil from Middle East. Right now, all refineries are still running using the crude oil inventory before the war. That normally lasts for 45 to 60 days. That means at this point of time, refinery can still continue the production, although almost all of them, I would say most of them already reduced the production capacity. So the supply from the refinery is already tight, and the impact will come to the import countries likely end of April and May, and that's when the refineries will have to secure the crude supply, the new crude supply from Middle East. So right now the issue is pretty much on the pricing. The supply is tight, but for Chevron it's still manageable at least for March and April. Number 3, talking about the pricing mechanism, I would like to mention again that yes, we import based on the Platts index, which is MOPS in Singapore. On top of that, we also have to compete with other buyers to pay product premium to the trader in order to get the supply. On top of that is the increasing freight and insurance. And because of the ongoing battle in the Middle East, many of the insurance brokers or companies stop providing the insurance to the vessel owner already. So that's adding on top of the difficulty of getting the vessel. After that, then before coming to the country, we also have to handle the forex, the foreign exchange rate, which is peso is weakening, so you have to absorb that. So that's for the pricing. And last but not the least, about the support from the government. I have a few points. First one is the importation process. During this time, the best is we get the product in an effective and timely manner. So we would like to get the support from all relevant authorities to try to simplify the importation process, not to delay the unloading of the product from the international vessel to the terminal. Second is to streamline the activity across all government entities, central government, and also LGUs, because we still continue to experience different treatment or different actions from the central government, namely DOF, DOE, versus the local treatment from the LGU. So that's add on the complexity to our supply operation. And last one is many of the countries, as mentioned earlier, already banned the exportation of the product. So we would like to request for support from the government to have the G2G discussion with the government of other countries to ease their policy and to support the exportation to the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you. We recognize the presence of Senator Bam Aquino. Yes, Senator Marcoleta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we also recognize the presence of Senator Lauren Legarda.
Morning.
Representative from Chevron, we're coming from different perspective. What is the monthly consumption of the Philippines in terms of diesel? Diesel-wise, what is the national consumption?
The daily volume is 33 million a day.
Sir, I'm talking about monthly. How much?
Monthly is 1.9, 900.
Metric tons or barrels or what?
Million liters.
996,348,000 liters. That's correct. Tama po.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, halimbawa, pag-usapan po natin yung diesel. Sabi po ng President, before the war broke out, we had 50 to 60 days of supply. Tama po. So after 2 weeks po, yung 55, tumaas po ng average sa 125. Kinuha po natin yun sa inventory, yung 125, sir. Tama po. Sir, you have to answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I cannot speak for the others.
Yes, sir. Kayo po yung sumagot kasi tinatanong ko yung Chevron, kayo po yung sumagot eh. Okay?
I had the number kasi.
Yes, sir. So, 996,348,000 liters per month. Yun po yung consumption natin sa diesel. So, nagkaroon po ng increase na 70 pesos per liter after 2 weeks. That's 127%. So, tingnan po ninyo, Mr. Chair. 996,348,000 liters times 70 divided by 30 days. That's 2.32 billion per day, approximately gross income. Is my computation correct, sir? Ulitin ko po, 996,348,000 liters times 70, ito po yung increase, divided by 30, 2.32 billion per day. Ang approximate gross income. Kasi kinuha niyo po sa inventory. Wala pa naman po yung, di pa naman kayo umaangkat. No? 2 weeks pa lang po nakaraan eh. Gasoline. It used to be 50 liters per day, pre-war. Naging 80 liters po, average, after 2 weeks. So meron pong difference na 30 pesos per liter or an increase of 67%. Sir, ilan po yung consumption natin ng gasoline per month? $4,521,000 barrels or 714,318,000 liters. Correct po? Can I get a confirmation? Anybody from? Welcome.
Anyone from the from DOE or from our from
These
the
figures were
stakeholders?
supplied to me by a friend from the oil companies.
I think DOE will be the more appropriate resource person to shed light on this matter.
Mr. Chair, as confirmed kanina, yung diesel is around 32.5 million liters per day. More or less 33
Pinasolve
million.
na natin yun.
the gas-
996,348,000.
Yeah,
So
gasoline.
yung gasoline na lang.
Gasoline is around 23.3 million liters per day.
Or 714,318,000 liters. Tama po?
The 23.3 million is already in liters, Mr. Chair. Daily.
Kaya nga, times 30 ilan? 714,318,000 liters of gasoline. Tama po.
That's correct. Around
Oh,
600.
yan. Ito po, ganito. 714,318,000 liters of gasoline times 30 days. That is 714 million per day. Approximate gross income. So pag pinagsama po natin itong dalawa lamang, Mr. Chair, per day po ito sa diesel po, 2,324,812,000 plus 714,318,000. Ang gross income po per day is 3,039,130,000 per day. 3 billion, Mr. Chair. Kinuha po ninyo sa inventaryo ninyo ito. 2 weeks pa lang ang nakakaraan. Alam po ninyo, Mr. Chair, I have to apologize for making this comparison. Yung 18 Marines po, yung kanilang mga dineliver na mga maleta, kinumpute ko rin po Despite the logistical nightmare scenario that was peddled to the public, ganito po yun Approximately, they were delivering 2 billion pesos per day. Based on 33 months times 4 weeks. Average po ng about 42.5 maletas, averaging 40 million each maleta. Ito pong gross income na kinukompute ko, Mr. Chair, mas mataas pa po doon sa maleta na dinala po ng 18 Marines. Allegedly. Wala po akong inano. I'm just trying to see. I mean, yung analogy lang po. Wala po akong pakialam kung totoo o hindi totoo yung sinasabi po doon sa sworn statement. That has yet to be investigated properly. Ang kwento ko po is 2 billion a day, yung sinasabi nila. Ang sabi ko nga po, I'm not saying that that is correct. That is yet to be investigated properly and in proper time. Pero ito pong sinasabi ko, it's 3 billion pesos per day ang gross income po ng National Oil Company. These are not my figures. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Again, we'll discuss the pricing later on, and I'm sure our friends from Manibelas also have some observation on that. We'll finish the presentations from the oil sector. Next will be Shell Filipinas Corporation, represented by Ms. Lorelie Kiambao Ocial, the President and CEO.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, other senators and members of the committee. Good morning to everyone attending here today. Today is March 26, which is the 26th day of the technical closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And that accounts for 20% of the flows of molecules in the world. And most of that is going through Asia. Therefore, if the conflict continues, then there will really be tightness in the entire world, which is first felt in Asia. So I do echo what Mr. Nepomuceno and Kunbon has mentioned when it comes to the tightness in supply. And it is getting tighter and tighter. And with Asia being the first region, India and then Asia being the first regions impacted. Then you also see like LPG problems in India and in Asia, the tightness. And as a result of that, then you do see a number of the governments declaring export bans, which has resulted to refineries declaring force majeure. Now, global prices for oil and gas are global. Yeah? Therefore, even Mr. Trump, who has sufficient supply, is not spared from the elevated prices. So that region is not also spared. So when it comes to the supply and inventory of Shell Pilipinas Corporation, that is our foremost. I think our priority right now is to ensure that during this time we are able to still get molecules into the country. We want to make sure that we continue to supply reliable, safe, and quality fuel.